and see your children so dear and free. Thank you very much. At this time, we call Mr. Coyote Lambert to welcome each and every one of us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, special guests, special invitees. It's my pleasure this afternoon to welcome you one and all to the various concerns you guys have in for Guyana, and we will take your concerns and document it, and we will move forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lambert. I have been charged with the, good evening once again. I have been charged with the task of introducing you to the concerned Guyanese patriots of Georgia. I will not endeavor to go through the mission statement and everything, it's right in front of you, but for those of us in radio land, and those of us who are looking at us on television, by podcasts, etc., of what our organization is about, why it was started, and our purpose. So, the Concerned Guyanese Patriots of Georgia, which is a CGPC, was established in May 2023. So, as you can see, we are still in our embryonic stage. The organization is still in the embryonic stage, currently finalizing its 501(c) status. We are a registered non-governmental organization. The mission is to foster and promote pride, dignity, and respect for all the people of Guyana. Work for the protection of human rights of all people. To help empower Guyanese to realize their rights and to assist those responsible for upholding such rights in ensuring that they are implemented. Our purpose, therefore, is to educate, document, inform, and politicize, or publicize, as one would want to say, the atrocities, the human rights atrocities and violations in Guyana and the wider Caribbean. So this end, our vision is to safeguard the human dignity of all races and ethnicity in Guyana. Our values are for truth, integrity, diversity, equality, and inclusion. We encourage civic and community service in pursuit of our goals and remain apolitical, not connected to any political party, and not identified with or any political party. We seek to form alliances within Guyana, the United States of America, and the diaspora with like-minded organizations. And just if you may indulge me, we have members here that belong to other Guyanese associations. Some people have in the past, we give you guys a member of the Guyana Association. We have members here, as I said, likewise, we have members also of the Guyana Association. Our mission, our goals are different. And just like that, outline to you what our goals are. We are not in competition with them. We're not in competition with any Guyanese group or organization. We are merely complementing whatever they do for the benefit, growth, and the development of our country, with the emphasis of inclusion for all Guyanese. Thank you very much. At this point in time, I will now call on our moderator, Mr. I'll call on Ms. Dawn Simmons to introduce the moderator. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Novella Noble. She's born Guyanese of her beloved soil of Guyana, who migrated over 30 years ago, seeking, just like many of us, the American dream. And to further her studies, where she earned her undergraduate degrees in psychology and criminal justice from Morris Brown College and Kennesaw State University. Novella went on to earn dual executive MBA degrees in business and public administration. She is currently doing a 12-month executive leadership program at the Wharton Global. She hopes to return to Guyana to pursue some business opportunities and, like they say, to pay it forward to young aspiring Guyanese entrepreneurs and professionals. She currently serves as Chief People Officer with a $2 billion nonprofit organization in Southeast region. She is a serial entrepreneur and is the founder, serious?
No, cereal, cereal.
Serial entrepreneur and is the founder of Divine Care Transportation, Inc. And that's a medical transport company in North America. And managing director of Noble HR Consultant. Novella is an activist and philanthropist. She co-founded Empowerment Through Education and Economics Guyana. And that's a 501c3 organization. She's the vice chair of this organization that's hosting today, the Concerned Guyanese Patriots of Georgia. Novella's passion, patriotism, and love for her country is why she's investing her time and talent in advocating and fighting for a better Guyana. She believes that our country's true potential and possibilities.
Yes.
One moment, please.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the podium, right? The online audience can't see you. Sorry about that. No, come right over. Come right over. Please. So the right there. Yeah.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. They want me on camera today. Novella's passion and patriotism and the love for her country is why she's investing her time and talents advocating and fighting for a better Guyana. Novella believes that our country's true potential and possibilities lie in our young people. And the only way they can actualize their talent and capabilities is under a progressive, equitable, aspirational government that provides opportunities for all Guyanese. Novella is committed to using her voice to magnify Guyana's issues and ensure that the government of Guyana secures the future of all Guyanese. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our moderator for today, Ms. Novella Noble.
Do you want to go ahead and do this one, guys? I think we need to push this back before I fall in the camera here. Let's push this forward. Okay, good. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad I didn't fall so you could see that. Welcome. And it is so wonderful to see my people here this evening. It is great that we can take time out and be in community. What is happening back home is also happening to us. And so your presence demonstrates your commitment. It demonstrates your patriotism, as well as knowing that we must continue the fight and the work. The only way we can build a better Guyana, it is when all of us can be in lockstep, when we can work hand in hand, collectively, individually, to be able to realize a Guyana that we all once knew, and that we will then be able to leave our children. A generation, a Guyana that we aspire to be able to see our greatest potential. A Guyana that we are enriched with so many natural resources and now oil. So could you imagine a Guyana to where we, in our older age, and I'm not going to call any names because we're all getting there, but really that we will help our children to realize a Guyana that they can certainly see and actualize their greatest potential. And so hence the reason that we are here. And so welcome. I will now call on Ms. Hazel Marshall to introduce to you our main speaker this afternoon. And in addition to that, I also would like to welcome our dignitaries that is joining us here this afternoon. We have Mrs. Donna McLeod from the Gwinnett County Chair. Welcome and happy to have you here. Candidate for chair. But we are calling that into existence. So we are saying it as if it is now.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good.
Good afternoon, everyone. And it is indeed a pleasure for me to be here among such important, auspicious people. I am here to introduce to you the man of the moment, and the reason for this season is none other than Mr. Rickford Burke. Rickford is an international law and public policy consultant and a democratic political consultant in the New York region. He has held various positions in government in Guyana, the United States, as well as in corporate America. He started his journey from the age of 17, when he served as technical advisor to the Guyana Public Service Minister while attending the University of Guyana. He was later appointed special assistant to the then president of Guyana, Mr. Hugh Desmond Hoyt. He later served as chief of staff to President Hoyt in his capacity as opposition leader of Guyana. In the US, Rickford served as vice president of Saxon National Bank, Northeast area manager for General Motors, consultant in the New Jersey office of the public defender, and policy advisor to the New York City Council member, David Yaski. He has also staffed presidential, gubernatorial, mayoral, city council, Senate assembly, judicial, and congressional political campaigns. Mr. Burke is a human rights advocate, Black Lives Matter and community activist, and a staunch proponent of the empowerment of Caribbean Americans. He is, as we all know, president of the Caribbean Guyana Institute of Democracy, a foreign policy, good governance, and human and civil rights think tank. During his tenure as GCID president, the Institute established the prestigious Democracy Prize, a coveted award bestowed on heads of state for upholding principles of democracy, good governance, and human rights. The prize has been awarded to the Prime Ministers of Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Barbados, and the Bahamas. Rickford sits on several boards and committees for a number of companies and nonprofits. He is a prolific writer, as we all know, who is published in New York, the Caribbean, the UK, and Africa. And I'm going to add Canada and Australia and New Zealand. And that's because I know my friends in those countries read. Rickford is also a radio and social media talk show host and a TV contributor on the international Caribbean relations. In 2005, the Network Journal recognized Rickford as one of the influential Black professionals in the United States who is under 40. He's a young blood, you know.
That was
Work is probably aging him, but he's wearing well. He is a Seventh-day Adventist.
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Mr. Burke, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
So before we actually get Mr. Burke in front of this podium, there is one additional task that Dawn Simmons will come and do for us, and then we will hear from Mr. Burke. But we are excited that Mr. Burke is here with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Novella. Today, it's my honor to introduce Miss Donna McLeod. She was born in the island of Jamaica, grew up in Canada. She moved to Georgia in 1998. She's a chemical engineer by profession with over 20 years experience in quality assurance management and engineering. She's the president and CEO of Empirical. It's a quality assurance regulatory company specializing in medical devices, food, plastics, and pharmaceuticals. She's the mother of a grown daughter, and she is a very proud grandmother. She worked as a state rep in Gwinnett County with the Department of Corrections and the Department of Community Services to update their release documents to ensure that ex-felons not only have a chance to vote, but to be informed that they have that opportunity to vote. Because you know, sometimes the legislation is passed, but we don't know about it, so we can't participate. So she took that mandate and made sure that those ex-felons knew that they had an opportunity to vote, that their rights are fully restored. Ms. McLeod has made an impact on the state of Georgia when she worked with the Secretary of State to update MVP, which is my voter page, with the commissioner and school board districts, so that every registered voter would know what districts they live in at the county level of government. She also introduced legislation to update the outdated QBE, which is the Quality Basic Education Formula, to better fund all Georgia public schools. She was also the legislative whip in the 2021 to 2022 session. She introduced legislation to legalize small amounts of marijuana and expunge the criminal records of those affected by the outdated laws. She introduced House resolution that recognized September as African Immigrant Heritage Month. She's the co-signer of legislation to ensure that government employees are paid for Juneteenth holiday. She also created legislation to make Election Day a holiday and legislation to remove $127 million in the Georgia budget for private prisons. She ran for Congress also in 2022. She ran as under the Democratic ticket for Congress in the Georgia 7th District. Her accolades are numerous, ladies and gentlemen. We do not have time to read them all out to you, but I want to go ahead and present the next chairwoman of Gwinnett County, Ms. Donna McLeod.
Good evening, everyone. Big up. Big up. I know I'm in Guyanese territory, but being put at the table, and I've said this before, if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And at this point in time, I think you guys know exactly what I'm saying about you're in the diaspora, but your folks back in Guyana are feeling it. And if our people are feeling it, then we need to stand up. And so when I was asked to come, although I'm not a Guyanese, I am Jamaican, we're in this boat together. It was a matter of course. They dropped some of us off in South America, some of us in the Caribbean, and moved on up to North America. And I just wanted to I don't want to take a lot of time because I want to really get in so you guys can have participation. It is so important that we understand we're not divided. It's important for us to understand when people are using race and those kind of things, it is actually to divide. And we cannot allow people to continually divide us. It's important, even in this country, we're going through it as well. But that's why we have to be like police, watching over all of this stuff and making sure that we stop things that we know are wrong. It is important for us to be the leaders. Somebody led so we could be here today. It is not our option to sit back and say we can't do nothing. We can always do something because to whom much is given, so much more is required. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. McLeod. Appreciate the words of encouragement to us. I also want to acknowledge our folks that are actually viewing this live. We are live, and so what I would encourage them to do for the folks that are not in this room, it is to share it alive because we want to make sure that this message gets to every Guyanese household, regardless of race, color, creed, ethnicity. We want you to know that we're thinking about you. We want you to know that we are here because of you. And so kindly share it alive. So if you're in somewhere in whatever land you're in, virtual land, kindly make sure that you're sharing the live. We are here physically, but you can participate by sharing the live. Thank you so much. And now we'll have Mr. Rickford Burke to grace us with his presence. Thank you.
I know you guys can clap hard better than that, right? Exactly. Let them hear you, Guyana. Let me hear it again. Let them know people are in this room. Because next thing you know, next Thursday we have a press conference. And Barry Jackson going to say, yeah, he was talking to 4 people in Atlanta. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Exactly. Are there any Guyanese in the house? Any Guyanese in the house? Any Jamaicans in the house? Doris, good to see you again. Could you guys big up Donna McLeod? She is a public servant that serves the people of Georgia and specifically in Gwinnett County and our community and our Caribbean community. So thank you very much for the work that you do. Thank you for your service. So good to see you again. The last time I saw was 2 years ago. Welcome to everybody. I want to recognize a few people. Dalton, the president of Concerned Guyanese Patriots of Georgia. I got it right? Exactly. Novella is the vice president of the same organization. Novella and I actually grew up together. When my dad, who was a police officer, served at Cove and John, we lived at Golden Grove, and that's where Novella is from. And we went to church together. So that's my sister. I'm sorry, Dalton is saying that I know him too. I'm going to say what he doesn't like to hear. I know Dalton since I'm a teenager. He likes to say that we were teenagers together. And Dennis Fraser and Hazel Marshall, my cousin. Where is Hazel Marshall? That's my blood cousin.
Our grandfathers, our brothers, his grandfathers, Ivan Remington and I am the grandchild of Arthur Remington.
Exactly. So if y'all think y'all gonna beat me up here today, I got bottom. And Don Simmons, who's a veteran in the Guyanese community here in Georgia. Don, thank you all for the invitation. Thanks for inviting me. I know that another elected official should be here. I don't see her as yet, but the chairman of which county is that? Cobb County. Lisa? Lisa Cupid? Yeah. Yeah. I think the chairman of Cobb County executive should be here. I still want to acknowledge her and all the other Guyanese who serve in the, can I get some volume here? Little horse. Who serve this Atlanta and the wider Georgia community. I want to thank the people who came from North Carolina, the people who came from New York. I'm not going to specifically identify them. You guys know. Yes, it's good. It's good. And we also want to thank the law enforcement officers. What's this, Stone Mountain or Atlanta? Stone Mountain. So I'm happy to be here again. When I heard Hazel, read parts of my bio, I laughed. Because we have people in Guyana rewriting history. We have, in this day and age, 2024, we have an entire government that is scared of us in the diaspora, rewriting history. I was listening to a video by the Attorney General. Not sure how many of you saw that video. He said, Richard Burke raped some child in America, and I'm on the, what you call it? The, not wanted list, we will get there. Sex offenders list. Sex registry. This is the Attorney General of a country. He said that I robbed Indian businessmen from all over Guyana and escaped to America. He said that I extorted people in Guyana, or I am in the business of extorting people from Guyana. Indian businessmen, not the word Indian, everything is Indian. The government of Guyana has reversed our existence back into the Jim Crow era in America. And they're adopting the tactics of Jim Crow KKK racists to attack Afro-Guyanese. When the Attorney General of New York, the Honorable Letitia James, my sister, they're upset because she said that I'm her brother. You guys know that, right? When she warned them that they'll be held accountable for attacks and their threats on us that they're perpetrating, Gail Teixeira, who I must comment on, I noticed she's acting president of Guyana, an insult to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, the Constitution says whenever the president is out of the country, the Prime Minister acts as president. But she's acting president. And I make bold to say her appointment to act as president is unconstitutional. I don't know why the people at home accept these unlawful acts by the government. But she issued a statement attacking myself and Paul Sloan, the former deputy police commissioner, who spoke at the event with the Attorney General of New York. And she said, Richard Burke is a criminal. And they perpetuated the same narrative. He was allegedly involved in some rape. and he was this and that and that. Nothing. I've never been arrested in my life, never been accused of a crime in my life. But that's what they want to portray. And then somebody from the PPP called me and said, listen, I'm from the opposition to you, but I must tell you that the conduct of my party is despicable. And based on the discussions, the plan is they want to portray you as a criminal so as to scare US government officials from associating with you so you can't represent us. Like if that's going to happen. In the run-up to the Washington conference, you guys know about the Washington conference of Guyana?
Yeah.
The vice president threatened members of Congress. He said any member of Congress who goes to the conference, he will deal with them. And any members of Congress who defend me, he will go to the Republicans and bring them down. This Negro, but he's not even a Negro. This guy is done in Guyana, in another continent. And he thinks that he has influence in America. And so that's why we have these forums all across the country. And the first thing I'll say to you guys is that we have to engage the Caribbean community leaders all across America. We have to engage the elected officials in Georgia. And before I came here, we started to put arrangements in place for the Guyanese community leaders to meet with Congresswoman Nikema Williams, to meet with Congresswoman Macbeth, and Congressman Han Johnson. And I personally spoke during Congressional Black Caucus with Senator Warren. We have to get our elected officials all across America involved in our activism so that they know right in our backyard in South America, we have an apartheid country that wants to enslave Afro-Guyanese, Black people. They get scared when we say Black people. They say that's racist. They don't think that they are Black until they come to America. I'm serious. Right? And what they have skillfully done is conflate criticism of the PPP with criticism of East Indians. So when you criticize them, they go and say, you criticize East Indians and you're racist. So let me define for you what racism is. Because that's their new mantra, Richard Burke is a racist. Racism is hatred for a group of people because of their race. And using power to implement institutionalized bias based on race. That's racism. Does Richard Burke have the power to institutionalize racism and affect policies that target or discriminate against one race? No. Richard Burke doesn't deny one group of people COVID relief, flood relief, jobs. Richard Burke doesn't give contracts only to one group of people. Barack Jabe and the PPP do that. And we must call them out for it. So, one of the first objectives of me coming to Georgia is to tell you about getting your community leaders and elected officials involved in our campaign for democracy, justice, and equality in Guyana. The second reason is for us to become aware of the strategy of the government. I told the cameraman not to show people in the audience, and there's a specific reason for that. The police force, which has now become the was it the Russian thing, the KGB of Guyana, the People's Progressive Party force. And I'm so happy that my sister Donna is here so that she can talk with her other elected officials here in Georgia, because this must not be tolerated. It must not be tolerated, and our objective must be to change U.S. foreign policy on Guyana. Let me hear that. The objective must be to change U.S. foreign policy with regard to Guyana and the People's Progressive Party government. So they have equipped the Guyana police force with technology. When we have all of these events, they tape it. And they use it in Guyana as well. They tape it, and then they pluck out specific faces, and they target you on social media. They target your family back home. They target your friends, and they target you here. They target you back here. The government of Guyana has an official policy of espionage in the United States, and I'm not making it up, I'll prove it. The government's official policy is to send people here to spy on us and harass us. And the US government is aware of it. The US government is aware of it. Now, what are they doing about it? We'll find out in the next couple of weeks. Because if they're not doing anything about it, we'll have to do something about it. And I know in Georgia there's stand your ground law. And I may go to say, if people run up on your property with guns, you have a right in certain states, Georgia, Florida, and 11 other states, to use deadly force. Deadly force. I'm not proposing anything. I'm quoting the law. Am I wrong? Deadly force. So when Barry Jabel sent his people to harass you, threaten your children, spy on your children, record your home, publish it. If they come on your property and they threaten you with guns like they came to my house with guns, you have a right to apply the law. So what are your activities? As you guys know, on December 16th, a young man arrived at my house. We were going to church. It was a Saturday. Young man is a member of our team, one of the people who attends events with us, ensure our security. He's an armed, licensed firearm holder. He came to pick me up for us to go to church. We were actually going to church with an elected official. Somebody who's in this audience was also on the way to accompany me. And I diverted him. I said, no, let me meet at church. Somebody else is already here. So my home has a lot of surveillance. So we saw the activities outside. But when I stepped out of my house, two men jumped out of a white SUV, dashed across the street like if they were bounty hunters. And you guys saw the video. Guyana Police Force was bold enough to release the video. Rushed up my step and tried to give me something. And you guys saw. I just looked at him. Once I figured out who he was probably representing, I just locked my gate and I walked down my step and left him on my step. Went into the car and left. But I didn't leave. We circled the block. And when we were at the intersection and turned the block, I could observe that he was still on my step. Later on, surveillance revealed that he went to his car and went back into my property, even though I had ordered him to leave my property. So, you guys know the story. The police came, police called the FBI, police called the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And while we were sitting with the police, And the federal officials, I can't say much, I'm prohibited from saying certain things, but while we were identifying who these people are, the Guyana Police Force brazenly issued a statement. We sent agents to Mr. Burke's house to serve him with a summons to come to court in Guyana. To answer charges of extortion, sedition, terrorism, whatever. Welcome to the cooperative Republic of Russia. So it was the Guyana Police Force taking instructions from Barra Jagdeo to violate US law, violate US sovereignty. Not only that, they were engaged in an act of war against the United States because they sent an armed paramilitary officer into the United States, violated US sovereignty. That's against the United Nations Charter. You can't send armed people into another country. You want to start a war. And they're trying to deny that they were armed. And Barra Jagdeo was like, Richard Burke, men come with guns pointing. I said they brandished weapons. If Barra Jagdeo, because he went to community high school in Russia, doesn't understand what brandishing is under the law, he must go and get advice from his attorney general. But what they want to know is how much we know and how they can get us to say things. So we're not going to say much more than that. They brandish weapons. And I insist, and I've insisted, that I will press charges against those two people. I mean, the federal government is doing their investigation. The New York City Police Department has their investigation to do. And I understand that their investigation is from the level of international terrorism. But I also understand that Barra Jagdeo said he's waiting to see what elected officials will defend me so that he could bring them down. Well, today in Georgia, I dare him. Let him attack the black elected officials when they speak, and let him bring them down. In addition to that, they have been sending police officers into the United States to investigate us. I kid you not. Not only that, they were so ambitious. They were so ambitious that they carefully and strategically made a plan. You guys know a few months ago, a few elected officials from the South here went to Guyana on a fact-finding mission. How dare these black people come to our country to fact-find what? Against us Supreme East Indians. That was the government's attitude. And then so as to try to tarnish them, they said, I sent them. Poor humble me from Maple Street of Brooklyn. Don't know the people from Adam. Never met any of them. Never. But they said, Burke, send them. We would not meet with them, and we encourage people not to meet with them. But there was something more sinister. They heard, or somebody misled them to believe, or they misled themselves to believe that I was coming on the team. So they procured the services of a criminal enterprise to kidnap me, take me to the highway, and have me executed. This is the government of Guyana. And police officers were involved in that at the most senior level in that conspiracy. And there are other conspiracies which I can't talk about, only to see that federal and local law enforcement in Guyana monitor my safety. Right? These people came to this country and are threatening our lives. And I know they want me dead, but let me say this, and I've said it before. They can do it. But if they do it, the Guyanese people know what the response must be. And I maintain that when they do that, and if they kill one more Guyanese, in addition to the 1,400 that they killed when they were government previously, it must be the last time they serve in government. Why you are quiet? I'm serious. The Guyanese people and the international community must ensure that they don't serve in government. Killers are not in government. Well, no. I'm wrong. Bharat Jagdeo, the former president of Guyana, currently installed himself as vice president. When he was president, organized death squads, Donna, that killed over 1,400 young black men. And I get boiled up every time I talk about it. And nothing has happened. There's no justice. That same man instructed the police officers, police force, to frame Mark Benchcraft, the treason, locked him up for 5 years without a trial and then lose him. I heard that they have a file with over 75 charges for me. 75. So what they're doing is ensuring that we can't go home because we're activists here and we speak out against them. You know what? They mustn't come here either. Why are we allowing the president to come here freely without protesting? We're not the State Department, we can't revoke visas. But we can sure give them hell. We can sure give them hell when they come to this country. Every time they come here, we must give them hell. They mustn't walk in this country freely and speak to Guyanese when they're killing us at home and they're tagging us here and they're hiring hitmen to kill us. But I'm coming to that. And I dare Bharat Jagdeo to come on Thursday and deny what I'm saying. Because boy, oh boy, we got the evidence. And let me address this extortion thing that he's talking about. Because they are writing to the Justice Department. I never see a government obsessed with a private citizen in another country. Yeah. I saw somebody made a meme with the vice president sitting down with a board says, "Welcome to the Rickford Burke press conference." And about 2,000 little Rickford Burke in his head. Did you guys get it? The population is wise. They know what's up. So let me address this extortion thing. A few years ago, as you know, I'm president of CGID. We get complaints all the time. So a number of citizens wrote us, CGID, about BM sold car dealerships, scamming them, defrauding them, abusing them. Of course, these are East Indians from the PPP. And let me say this. I grew up only in East Indian towns. I have lots of East Indian friends that I love. They're perfectly patriotic, God-fearing, honorable East Indian people who don't subscribe to racism. And we honor them and we ask them to join our campaign to end racism, PPP racism. We're not talking about those people. I love my East Indian friends. We're talking about people who don't believe that black people have rights. So don't go tomorrow and say Rickford Burke, all East Indians are racist. So, but the episode, the owners, their title is Mohammed, not the main businessman Mohammed. I don't gotta make that clear. BM robs people. BM scams people. And most of those people are poor black people. Let me tell you what they do. So if your grandmother wants a car, she goes to BM. I need a car. Okay, sign up some papers. You gotta get a guarantor. Gotta get a guarantor, right? She brings her daughter. Or let me switch it around. Daughter go and bring mommy to get the car. Mother uses her house as the guarantor. Daughter falls on a little hard time and she says, okay, I'm gonna miss my payment. You know, we have so guys, take away your car and go and try to sell your mother house. I am not kidding. Let me be very specific. The first letter that we got is from a young man. Works in the oil industry. His mother guaranteed a car, a loan for a car from BM and they finance these things themselves. He was undergoing surgery, and he called BM and he said, I will miss my payment date because I'm in hospital, but as soon as I come out, I can make the payment. You know what I did? Take away his car, and went in his yard and take away the mother car. So I went on my Facebook page and called them out. There were some other media that published the story. When I made that post, 1,900 people came on the post and complained about the same thing. 1,900. And that was only on one page. I got more than one Facebook page. And I put it on all. So altogether, it's about 2,500 people said they had the same experience. In addition to that, a young man from right here, a young Guyanese businessman, Guyanese American businessman from Georgia, named Darwin Bess, complained to us that he has a fuel company. He supplied BM with $170 million of fuel. They refused to pay him. And here their excuse. They hear that Darwin owes some other Indian man and somebody friend and so on. So they pay. So after this post went viral, they contacted James Bond, attorney James Bond, supposed to be a friend of mine. Supposed to be a friend of mine. I mean, I love the guy. And he called me, said, here, the BM people want to know if you can take down the post. I said, no. Because by then, Darwin Bess had shared with us all his documents, even a letter from his attorney. And the letter from his attorney specifically outlined steps, legal steps, that would have been taken. I said, no. I said, let them stop scamming people. He said, could they call you? I said, anybody can call me. So one of the guys called me. And I'm sure you guys heard that conversation because when PPP call me, I tape in them. Because when you tell them A, oh shucks, they're gonna stop calling me now. Anyway, when you tell them A, they're going to be straight to Z. I'm not talking about my friends in the PPP, by the way. Anyway, so the guy called me and he was like, man, this thing is affecting our business. How could we solve this? I said, you have the power to do that. He said, okay, could you change the post? I said, I ain't changing the post. But what you gotta say? He said, could you adjust your post to say anybody who has a problem with BM could contact you and you? I said, no, I don't do that. I will put on the post, they must contact you and you will resolve the problem. I said, I don't want to bring down your business. I want to be fair. I want you to stop abusing people. And I released that video, that conversation, so it's public. Once it became public that BM had contacted me, Barrett Jabdale called them and called the police and said, here, go and take a police report from these people that work extorting them. And the police did that. But here how the police smart. BM lawyer wrote demanding $170 million. When they called me, I said, you also have this issue to solve. Could you solve? He said, yeah, we can solve it. Me like a fool now, called our best lawyer, say, man, the people say they're gonna solve the matter. Why don't hold on and see what happens? And he stopped his legal proceedings, including filing procedures in court here in Georgia, in federal court. They started to negotiate James Bond, their lawyers, and being so. Every minute they call me complaining, this morning doing that, I say, y'all get all the lawyers in one room. Remember I told you $170 million. The Attorney General made a post, oh, Burke is extorting BM for $90 million. Police is investigating. That's Attorney General, you know. The same Attorney General who was arrested for thieving government assets. And he went to every court in Guyana to get those charges dismissed. And the court said, you gotta go on face trial because the evidence is substantial. Every court, up to the Court of Appeal. Right? $70 million is what the letter said. Attorney General said $90 million. Next thing you know, wanted bulletin for Richard Burke. He is trying to extort BM Suit for $700 US. You know what they did? Huh? BM Suit and the police called to online journalists with technical skills and asked them if they could break into GNN, which is a US-based Guyana news that publishes some of my writings. They're trying to say I own it. It didn't even matter because if I own it, I own it. I'll tell them I own it. They said it's a fake news agency and it publishes scandalous information. Why? They perceive that as black people own it. Right? So it's fake. Only us East Indians supremacists must own media entities. The pigs in the animal farm. I am not saying East Indians are pigs. I am likening their behavior of those people in the PPP to the pigs in the animal farm who thought they were supreme. Let me clarify that. Because I know Thursday the press conference is going to say that.
Let's call me down, so.
So, they call these journalists some story that GNN carried related to exactly what I spoke about. And told them, break into GNN, an American company, and take down the stories. The men tried. The men caught them. The man said, well, yeah, we have access to GNN. And by the way, the only way I'm knowing this is because some police officer leaked a video that they turned over to the police to us. So we got all the videos. Their own BM source surveillance that they set up to try to trap whoever. The police leaked it to us. And you guys may have seen it on my page. So, intriguing story. They paid the men. They made an agreement based on the video and the conversation we heard on the video. They paid the men $170,000 Guyana to break into the thing. And here now, you must take over the site and put up nice stories about us. That is the conversation we're hearing on the tape. The men can't do it. So the police now decide to charge the men with extortion for the $150,000 Guyana, which is $700 US. Bear in mind, they owe Darwin West $170 million Guyana, which is $900,000 US, almost $1 million. So for good measure, that show Richard Burke name and there's a Richard Burke send them in. Because they think that can tarnish me. So Richard Burke attempted to extort BM Suit for $700 US. They're disrespectful to black people. And they put out this wanted bulletin. All the time behind the scenes, they're trying to get the US government to arrest me. Wrote to the Justice Department, wrote to the Department of Homeland Security. Richard Burke is a terrorist, he's this, he's that, he's that. Justice Department told them they violated my rights. In addition to that, there's an act which has been in the news recently, an act called the Transnational Repression, Accountability, and Prevention Act, which prohibits just that. You guys may have noticed the FBI arrested the Chinese, so having Chinese police officers arresting people in America. Yeah. The Indian government paying people to, sending agents here to kill one of their dissidents. The government of Guyana is engaged in exactly that. When we planned the Washington conference, Barrett Jabir was obsessed with the conference. He's going crazy. This is a group of Guyanese who decided to have a conference in Washington to talk about the plight of their brothers and sisters at home and the threat to democracy. What happened? Barrett Jabir sent the president and half the cabinet to Washington to meet the Biden administration, Congress, this, that. Private Hakeem Jeffries are meeting them, they want to meet with how long? And they were granted the meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus. Congressional Black Caucus said, okay, if we meet with you, we got to meet with the opposition, sent and called the opposition. And then we met with them from Congress. But every week, 6 weeks prior to that event, Barrett Jabir held a press conference to attack me because I coordinated the conference. He said, I'm renting elected officials. I just rented Donna today. He said, he said, no, that's what he does. He said that we Black Guyanese just call elected officials for photo up and take money because we they're bad. He said we just charge money for people at these events to take pictures with Congress people. And then he said a Haitian man told him that he gave me $10,000 for the conference because I told him that there will be investment opportunities. And the man came to the conference and patched up the conference and tell me in front of everybody he want back your money. The guy is a fiction writer. Because the conference was not for the public. The conference was for members of the Guyanese organizations like this one. And everybody here who are members of this organization was in Washington. Dalton, did you see some Haitian man who asked you for money? But Barrett Jabir does exactly what he's accusing us. He's like Trump. He is like Trump. He is projecting. The man is an international group. Vice News caught him on video negotiating a $500,000 bribe. Because they posed as Chinese business people who wanted to do business in Guyana. So the middleman collected the bribe. And imagine Barrett Jabir said work is a criminal. Every week, he's a criminal, he's a criminal, he's a criminal, he's a criminal, he's a criminal. He was looking in the mirror. He was looking in the mirror.
Criminal in America, he'd be in jail. Trust
Exactly. But, and I'm gonna wrap up just now. It's fun. I get excited when I talk about Barrett because I know the man like me bad. He taught me in school. So I never knew that the obsession began since then. But Barrett should know that there is nothing to same-sex marriage. He's going to hold a press conference tomorrow. So, coming back to this story now. So what do you think they did? They got behind the scenes with the police and they cook up all sorts of things and they filed some charges somewhere. I'm advised by my attorneys, I'm counsel, I don't know. I haven't seen anything, but I'm advised by attorneys in Guyana. And by now, you know, they're so vicious and desperate. They tricked the magistrates. They went and lied to a magistrate. I'm counseled, I don't know, that's what the lawyers told me. They sent a police officer to swear to a magistrate that I currently live in Guyana and I committed a crime in Guyana. I left Guyana in 1992. I left Guyana in 1992. Haven't been back to Guyana since 1997, 1998. And here how they're smart. They put that I live in Guyana somewhere, I don't know where, and that I committed this crime of extortion in Guyana, and I committed sedition in Guyana, and I committed this in Guyana, and I committed that in Guyana. Because they know that if they put a foreign address, the magistrate can't sign no summons so nobody will live abroad, because if I commit a crime in America, it is the prosecutors in America. If I get here, it's the Stone Mountain police going to arrest me. Not Guyana. But Barajat there and the police force says, see, what's that? Oh, there, Memorial Drive? Memorial Drive. If a criminal, one of you were to go out there and a criminal snaps your purse and you fighting them and decide to shoot you, and this camera caught it live, and it was seen in Guyana, they have the authority to charge the criminal with a crime. I want to challenge the Guyana police force to come to America and charge every criminal that committed a crime against the Guyanese. And let's see if we're going to solve the problem of crime in America. They can't even solve the crime problem in Guyana. So they say, any Guyanese that commit a crime in America, they have a right to arrest them in Guyana and charge them. Yes. Oh, they said they have the power, and the Attorney General defended it. Well, here, man, I have news to Barajadeo, because we're going to be laying 1,400 more charges against him, and we're going to send a Granite County cop to Guyana to arrest him and serve him. That's what we plan to do. And let him come to court here. And let the Attorney General then say, that is legal. That's how disrespectful. Oh, no, I forgot. They are superior East Indians. The law does not apply to them. That law applies to you black people like that in America. So that's the situation in Guyana. And we're laughing, but it's serious. The level of disrespect, the level of assault on democracy. How can a constitutional right in America be a crime in Guyana? But that only applies to you black people. Because when those guys in Queens attacked me as the Attorney General, it was a crime. Every black talk show host in Guyana has been arrested by the police for cybercrime. Everyone. Everyone. I challenge anybody to name me a black talk show host in Guyana who has not been arrested for cybercrime. Who? Who? Who's Barnes? He's not black. But let me talk to him, because I call him the jabon of an ass. Because every day he's on social media attacking black leaders. Even threatened former President Donald Ramatar. Police didn't arrest him. There has never been one East Indian who has been arrested for cybercrime. None. The cybercrime laws are not applicable to East Indians who support the PPP. Let me qualify that. Who support the PPP? Enough of the complaints. Moving forward, how do we solve this problem? We gotta get rid of the government. Y'all hear me? We have to get rid of that government. So, what's the task of the diaspora? And let me say something. They're attacking me because they're promoting themselves, work as a criminal, work as a criminal. I want to know who in the PPP at age 16 led a national youth organization. At age 16, I was heading a youth organization. At age 17, I was the special assistant to the president of my country. At 17, could you imagine that pressure? At age 17, the technical assistant to the Minister for the Public Service, writing speeches for the First Lady and the President. And they calling me a criminal after I served my country. There's past black people. My father was a senior police officer. I lived all my days on the police compound. They ain't saying that. But they want to rewrite history, work as a criminal. I just have to throw that in. In addition to that, I represent Guyana in the International Youth Parliament and the Caribbean Youth Parliament, and Mansour Nadir, who is currently the good-for-nothing Speaker of the House, biased, unqualified. He was the chairman of Caribbean Youth Institute, and I was representing Guyana. And he got himself on the table of work as a criminal. Which East Indian businessman would lend the little son of a police officer money for you to rob them? But anyway, let me go on before I commit myself. We have a task. If you're in Jamaica, Trinidad, Antigua, Barbados, wherever, Guyanese, stand up and represent your country. Go in front of the Prime Minister's office. Pick up the government. Guyana is the lead nation in CARICOM. CARICOM does not serve Guyana well. CARICOM leaders have neglected the Afro-Guyanese community in Guyana. And as for Barbados, listen, I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister of Barbados. She's a bright lady. She has a vision.
If it's not used.
But she is encouraging racism in Guyana by promoting the government. I noticed the government is going around the place buying awards for the president so that he doesn't look racist. They just went and bought an award in Ghana. They bought the award, they paid the people $21 billion. Shame! Shame! And I know the good people of Ghana have not lost their way. That they are rewarding based on propaganda a racist president, a man who has apartheid policies that they have fought. My time is coming short, I'm wrapping up. But if you want approval of Afro-Guyanese, why not start at home? Why not get the approval of Afro-Guyanese at home? Why are you going and trying to take out a picture with the congressman, fighting to take out a picture with a black head of state, and you're refusing to meet with the black leaders of Guyana? Since this government came to power, they have refused to meet with black leaders. They have arrested and charged all of the black staff, senior black staff at the Elections Commission. Arrested all black ministers, former ministers of government, black lawyers. How is that acceptable? Defunded ACDA, defunded IPALG. Take away the funding for black organizations, cultural organizations. And you want to go to Ghana? Start at home. Start at home. And as for the oil industry and the proceeds from it, Black people are not benefiting from it. Black people are not benefiting from it. How about starting there? We had to hammer the living daylight out of them for them to run and beg. No, let me take that back. For them to run and seek and form a black company to bid for an oil block. And it is good that those black women got. I want to see it materialize to production. I guarantee you that no PPP government will make sure that happen. That's a front. That's a front. I want it to happen. I want 3 more black organizations to bid on blocks. If you take away the living from a black man with a small oil company, you owe $170 million, you break up your company. You will empower a black organization to own an oil company?
And the women that you person in parliament.
So I want it. But you know what? On the other hand, they're destroying all the black businesses in Guyana. If they perceive that you backing the opposition, your business done. If they perceive that you backing Rickford Park, your business done. I want to ask a question. How could we develop a country where whenever the PPP is in government, nobody from the opposition must benefit from any government service? Nobody from the opposition must benefit from any resources of the country. How are we going to develop the country? And they can't deny that that's a fact. Yes, we have empirical evidence. 90% of government contracts go to East Indians. 2% go to blacks. The other 8% go international. And 90% of that 8% are East Indians from Trinidad. Guyana is not an East Indian country. Black slaves built our country. They're standing on the shoulders of our black ancestors. Now, East Indians are part of our country too. They deserve to get contracts. They deserve to have their businesses. But we deserve equal treatment and equal rights every time. So if we want to develop Guyana, we must first start with promoting equity, equal rights and justice, create opportunities for black businesses to grow and flourish, change the banking regulations, enact laws to ensure that there's equality. Don't complain that, oh, black people say we racist. Do something about it. We want to empower the African Guyanese community, and the oil wealth belongs to us. What part of the Guyana transport say oil wealth belongs to East Indian members of the PPP? What part of Guyana Constitution says Barajab they own the country? We want equality, and we can't get it under the PPP. The People's Progressive Party government does not believe in equal rights for black people. It therefore means whenever they're in government, they are against our interests. So we, as black people, have to promote a government that promotes our interests, correct? And the only way we can have a fair share in Guyana's economy is by promoting a coalition government. Coalition government, shared governance. We deserve shared governance. So, the opposition, the diaspora, we all must promote a coalition government. The coalition government under President Granger worked perfectly. Of course, they have political problems. But that's the way to go. We need change. We need a government that represents all the different sectors of the country, all the different people in the country. Shared governance. That's the way to go. I'm saying this to the opposition in Guyana. We want to see women's organizations joining the coalition, youth organizations joining the coalition, trade union movements joining the coalition, religious organizations joining the coalition. Who's going to stop us when we have a broad big tent of Guyanese representing all of the people of Guyana? That's my mission. I want to shout it from the mountaintop to Washington and New York and Georgia and everywhere else. The United States policy must be promoting a coalition government in Guyana. And we want to send a message to the State Department. I listened very carefully to the Assistant Secretary of State, Brian Nichols, a black man, talk about Guyana's democracy. And President Ali was elected by all of the people. Where is he getting this information from? It could be the US Embassy.
Same place to the Ghanaians.
And let me address directly an issue here that Novella raised in Washington with the Black Caucus. A lot of Guyanese here are talking about the Biden administration's lack of response to them. Don't give up the faith. We need Georgia. All right? Let me hear you. I know you're upset. We need Georgia. We need Georgia in November. So all of you have to vote for Joe Biden. But we all collectively have to hold the Biden administration accountable and the Democratic Party accountable. We say it from New York, we send people in Georgia, we fought with you guys to make sure that the Democratic Party in Georgia. And our Senator Warnock and Asaf. Guyanese turned out in the thousands. I didn't see nobody from the PPP voting in Georgia. So we must send a message to Brian Nichols at the State Department that we did not put the Biden administration in power for him to turn his back on the plight of black people. I'm dead serious. That's why it is important for you guys in Georgia to organize and meet your elected officials and let them pressure the State Department. The Biden administration must change its policy with regard to Guyana. It is unacceptable that you have the Secretary of State going to Guyana and not once mentioning the plight of the African people, not once mentioning racism, not once mentioning the extrajudicial killings that we need justice for. You can't kill black people and get away with it. So as I close, the mission in America, is to change U.S. foreign policy towards the PPP government. We don't want Guyanese to suffer. But if they break international law, they must be punished. Sanction them. Sanction them. If they send police officers to your house and violate U.S. law, they must be sanctioned. And let me tell you something. They must be sanctioned. They will be sanctioned. Because the next time, I ain't know if anybody gonna go back. Because Richard Burke will be standing his ground, and every other Guyanese will be standing their ground. So in conclusion, I hope that the visit to Georgia was worth the while. I hope that I have inspired some of you to become active in your Georgia community. Make the presence of Guyanese felt in Georgia. Go out and work to get your mayors elected. Go out and work to get Donna elected. Go out and work to get your Congress people elected, your US senators re-elected, and Joe Biden re-elected. Because those are the people that will stand up for you. I know y'all don't want Trump out there, right? I love the American abolitionist Harriet Tubman. That is somebody who inspires me. How can I read above her. She is the person who freed over 300 slaves by working a network known as the Underground Railroad, right? Back and forth from Maryland down north here to to Philadelphia and Canada. And you know what? As she brought those frustrated slaves who knew nothing about freedom through the network of activists and safe houses all the way to Canada and Philadelphia, she admonished them. And this is what she said: if you see the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the wood and them looking for you, keep going. If they're shouting at you, keep going. Never stop. Keep going. That's my admonition for us. If there's some hitting for you, keep going. If Barachapdale is after you, keep going. If they're sending Sarama to New York to your house, what? Keep going. If they're sending gunmen to surveil your home, keep going. The mission is to get them out of power. So my charge to you Guyanese, no matter what they do to you, keep going. We have to get them out of power.
Be careful here.
Okay, so you've heard from Mr. Rickford Burke. Thank you for that very inspirational, awakening, motivating, activating speech. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yes, got water for Mr. Let's make sure we have some water for Mr. Burke. So what we would like to do, first of all, I would like to thank you for being a very patient audience and participating. Now, the second half of our program will certainly be where you will be asking questions. Before we get to that, we'd like to take a bio break. And I certainly would like to ask you not for anybody to leave. We also would like to provide you with not only in terms of what Rickford stated, but the empirical evidence that others in Guyana, those that are foot soldiers like Mr. Nigel Hughes and the ones that have been gathering the data so that we can see it, we can witness, not just by words, but really by the data so that it tells the story. Because storytelling is about having the information and having the data and then being able to curate it with what is being told to us. So we've pulled together some information and there are lots of good reporting on my right side of the screen that we would like to share with you. And so just before we, this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna take a bio break for 10 minutes. Nobody's gonna leave, right? Is that a right? Okay. 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 So we're going to do this by consensus. Do you think that we need to take a break or should we continue? All right, continue. Wonderful. And I'm going to ask the folks in the back to get us water and stuff. We do have some stuff on sale so that we can support this movement. So they are paid refreshments at a very nominal fee. And if you can continue to support what we're doing and join us, not only financially, but be a part of what we're doing on behalf of our country, I would like for us to do that. So we're going to continue. And so Rickford, we are going to ask you if you can go through at a very high level the report that Mr. Nigel Hughes put together on the screen so that we can illuminate for our people the data that we have gathered to tell the story. It's another component of telling the story. Thank you. I'm gonna flash it through.
Okay, thank you. Let me come. Okay, it says economy and justice. Or this is very important. It goes to allocation of resources. So it says 2023 allocation distribution for roads and construction, 76% of funding went to East Indian communities. 16% was Afro-Guyanese communities. So you see the disparity, 76, 16. Government response from the Vice President, at least some of y'all villages getting roads, so y'all should set thanks. Exactly. Ministry of Housing, one of the ministry staffs with assigning and awarding government contracts. Three largest projects awarded by the Ministry of Housing. The Schooner Crane project, that's 11 billion. Mandela Eccles 4-lane project, 2.3 billion. The Eccles Diamond Lane 4-lane project, 13.3 billion. These are the contractors. VR Construction, Indian. Avinash, you see the figures there, 992 million East Indian. What's this? Hercules Construction, that's 2 billion, mixed Chinese and Indian. Guy America Construction, Indian. You black people don't know how to build roads. Oh, yeah. Mandela Road, that's Mandela Project. The contractors, Guy America, East Indian. You guys get a picture. We can come off the roads. 90% of those roads projects were awarded to East Indian contractors. $27 billion awarded by the Ministry of Housing. You can see there, 17% was awarded to Afro-Guyanese. 17%. Right. Water treatment plants, you can see contractors, Compass Industry, Indian, N North and Sons, East Indian, DR Construction, Indian, Dax Engineering, East Indian, International Enterprise, East Indian, Singh and Sons, Jack Mohan and Sons, Toshiba Water, American. So this is water treatment projects in Guyana, all East Indian. Ministry of Housing Procurement for Drug and Equipment, contractor, UGPC, East Indian, 68%. This is Barry Jack, their personal friend. 68%. Western Scientific Company, they got 20 East Indian, they got 27%. Jack Deo's friend, Bobby Ramroop, you heard of him? He got 68% of the entire budget, the entire national budget for drugs. To supply Georgia, the government with drugs. Budgetary allocations, right? Region 4, which has the largest population, 390,000 people, Region 4, they were awarded $781 million. Region 6, which is all PPP, mostly East Indians, they got a budget more than Region 4. 15% of the population of the country. Go back. What's that? Region 3, another East Indian region, 18% of the population, they got $890 million. Region 4 now, 41% of the population, Black people, they got 700 million. Go ahead. Award of offshore blocks. Kanji block, awarded to East Indians. Kaichor block, awarded to Portuguese. There were no advertisements of the offer. After we criticized them, then they brought in a sham mechanism with the latest awards. And they got the Black-owned women's group too. No Afro-Guyanese or Afro-Guyanese entity has ever been awarded offshore oil block as of 2023. They've now changed that. Of oil and gas shore bases. So these are shore bases that provide services for the oil and gas industry. Region 4, the company, Guyana Shore Base, approximately 100 million US dollars, East Indian. Region 3, NRG Holdings, 600 million, Portuguese and East Indians. Region 4, Crown Mining, figure not available, East Indians. Export gold license, gold export licenses awarded in 2001. That's the latest figure. 11 licenses were granted. 11 licenses were granted. Nine of the 11 went to East Indians. 2 went to Africans. Gold export license 2002. 6 granted. 5 to East Indians, 1 to Africans. Sand and stone quarries. Go ahead. These are the names of entities granted. Hattie's World, East Indian, Hattie's World again, East Indian, Hattie's World again, East Indians. Metallica, CC, Guyana Inc. And Southern Canton International. I guess this is Chinese, Mr. Su. I wonder if this is Jadeo Su. But it's spelled different. East Indian. And then one African, RMC Silica. What we will do, I know the representative has to leave, but we want to get in some questions before she leaves. So we'll keep this running and you can read them. And because we want to make sure we hear what she has to say. You know, she's Jamaican. And you know, she got some maroon blood in her. So she might have some advice for us. So thank you guys for listening. I think we could go into question and answers. Moderator? Yeah.
Thank you, Rickford. So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this evening. And that is, this is where you get to participate and ask some questions. And then, of course, the representative as well as Rickford and those of us in the room can certainly answer those questions. So the way we'll do it is you raise your hands and I'll bring the mic, you ask the question, and then Rickford and the panel will then answer those questions for you. And don't be shy. Thank you.
Don't ask no hard questions, all right?
Okay. All right. We have a first brave soul. Good evening. Rickford, I must thank you for your
advocacy for the Guyanese plight at home. Um, I strongly support you. I admire your courage. But a question always comes to mind because we get these meetings every year. And I'm always bothered, what are we doing to kick these fools out of office? These dunces. What are we doing? I remember when I grew up in Linden as a young boy, even though I was a YSM member, when Burnham did things against us, we struck, we strike, we stopped the industry, we closed down all of the major industries in Guyana. We are not doing anything in Guyana, and that's what beats me. What are we going to do? What are we going to do to stop this government who has been railroading our country? Okay.
You said you're from Linden, right?
Yeah, I was born in Berbice, but I grew
You remember what happened in Linden in 2015, 14? The government, well, you need to pay attention what's going on. And this is informed the people's attitude. The government decided to arbitrarily increase electricity tariffs. 2012, sorry. And the people decided to protest. You know what happened? The police opened fire against citizens, unarmed citizens, who were protesting the arbitrary increase in electricity tariff. The police opened fire on them. The PPP government, this same government was in power then, instructed the police to shoot the people. 3 persons were shot dead. You know who was the commanding officer? Hikim, for that region. He's not the police commissioner. He's a house Negro who was awarded commissioner's job killing black people like himself. Right? Who wants to go there and be shot and killed? 2 people from one family. Well, I don't endorse that. What I endorse is democracy. And hold on. What I endorse is democracy, which tells me if a government is slaughtering its citizens, we need to get rid of that government. And we get rid of the government by all of us ensuring every single eligible voter is registered to vote. And on the day of election, we bring every single eligible voter out to vote. This thing is not hard. They're a 1-seat majority government, 1 grand seat, 1 seat, and they're running the country like if they're controlling the whole parliament. It's 1 seat, 15,000 votes. You know how many people didn't vote in the last elections? Over 100,000. Right? Now, the reason this government can behave like if they have a majority in the parliament is exactly what he said. We're complacent. We allow them to kill us. We allow them to shoot at us. We allow them to appoint an unqualified police commissioner. We allow them to get away with sending Sarabo to New York with gun to the house. Where's the outrage in Guyana? Right? People are intimidated. People are scared. Look what happened to the Henry boys. PPP supporters. Slaughtered 2 16-year-old black boys. Why? They catch them alone in the backyard, in the back dam. Cut off their head, bust the back in 42 chops. Cutlass chops. 1 little boy alone had. And the perpetrators shot up the parents' homes. The police, when the villagers started to protest, the police was sent to shoot them. The commanding officer who refused to brutalize the people was transferred, right? And they persecuted him and tortured him to death. He might die from high blood pressure, right? So what we need in Guyana for real democracy to work is a safety network to ensure that there's justice, there's fairness, there's peace, and people have a right to express themselves, right? We have never heard the U.S. ambassador, then U.S. ambassador, talk about the denial of people's rights under the Constitution. But she was busy running up and down at election time, condemning the black of the black head of state. Right? The US ambassador went to the house of a man on the FBI investigation for international terrorism. The one that just gone there, the former. When she was confronted, she said she went for a bathroom break. Right? So, my point is that the international community has to help bring about true democracy in Guyana. It will only happen if we do what I advise. We pressure the Biden administration, we pressure Congress. I can't do it alone. I hold it down New York. My members of Congress in New York know everything that goes on in Guyana. I need y'all to hold down Georgia. I need the people in Miami to go to their members of Congress and the US senators. I need the people in Washington to keep pressuring the White House. This government spent $61 million lobbying the United States government against me last year. 61. You know how many black kids that could feed? You know how many roads that could build? You know how many computers?
So you're saying that we can fix the university?
Let me represent this speak.
So let me say something about this. So for those of you that are here, and any one of you that live in Gwinnett County, I moved to Gwinnett County in 2000. Gwinnett County looked completely different. Gwinnett County is now a majority people of color. And it actually, the actual change didn't effective until 2018, when we we elected the first person of color to the school board, and the first person of color to the commission. But the reason why I'm saying this, I'm going to show you why it's important for activism. So when I came there, I'm Jamaican, so I don't second class to nobody. That ain't gonna happen. So we got there. So I was involved with the Obama campaign in 2008. I was national director for voter outreach for Black before Obama. And so after the election, I couldn't stop. So I opened a nonprofit organization. Started going to the Board of Elections meeting and the Board of Commissioners meeting. So the first board of the first board of elections that I went to, it was being this is supposed to be a public meeting, so it was being held in a conference room, and they pulled up 3 chairs for the 3 Black women that showed up. So we showed up the next month. One of them said, "Oh, I guess we're going to change location because you people are coming." This happened in Gwinnett County. One of the things that is really extraordinary for me is how everybody else think they can treat the descendants of Africans as if we're less than, as if we are the original people of this planet. We have generated everything that is known to man today. So I am not here, and by the way, I'm not asking a question. I'm telling a fact.
Yes.
Okay. So that's one thing. So the second thing was, we had to hold the county accountable. So I was a part of 2 lawsuits. One of the lawsuits that we were a part of, a question was asked of the sitting school board members at the time, 2 white females. It was asked, "Hey, so what's so difficult to what was your opinion of segregated schools in the 60s and 70s?" They were asked that, and they said, "We have no opinion." So the attorney asked and said, "You're sitting here in 2017. Do you have an opinion of segregated schools in the 60s and 70s?" And they still said they had no opinions. Then we asked the commissioners, "Why it's so difficult to diversify the Board of Commissioners?" They said, "Oh, they have nice cars and nice houses. What more do they want?" This is this country, right? You know what we did? We registered people. My organizers have registered over 30,000 people, but it's not just enough to register people. You got to get them to vote. This is what a democracy is about. Even though some people are very confused in this country about what a republic is and what is a constitutional democracy and what is a representative democracy. The difference in parliamentary style versus having representation is that the people has the ultimate say. And people in Guyana needs to know that they have the ultimate say. And those of us that are in the diaspora, We can educate. In fact, I'm still educating people that are born here about how this Constitution works. No one is above the law here, Trump. You're not. And I'm all about accountability. And if you put somebody at the table, it's also your responsibility to keep them accountable.
Yes.
It's not just to get them elected and say, I'm chilling now. Actually, your job is actually the most important part is to make sure that they do for you, right? Because at the end of the day, those monies are tax dollars. And what we do with tax dollars is provide services. And if you're not getting the service, and it's clear that African descendants are not getting services, even though they're paying tax dollars. And I did see the statistic. I think people of color or mixed race is about 57%, and the East Indians are about 43%. And I don't want to alienate anyone, including LGBTQ. If they want to join on. So I see that it's about 57% together composition, and the East Indians are about 43%. And I think there's a lot of East Indians that are probably disgusted with seeing what they're seeing. So it's also important to get the folks that side with you to get on. Black skin, their civil rights in this country wasn't just blacks, because only 13% of the population at the time, and probably still around that time. You're not going to do it by yourself. You have to build a coalition to do that. But it is important for us to have pride in ourselves and to also stand with each other. So even if we're not born in Guyana, that doesn't mean that we can't stand with Guyanese, knowing that at the end of the day, if we are not standing with the Guyanese, it can happen to anyone as well, right? And I think it's so important for us to really truly grasp the power that we have. And the power is that the fact that we are the Alpha and the Omega.
Next question. Your Dalton. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Constance.
A little louder for the folks on in virtual land. Thank you.
My name is Constance Fraser. Hello, everyone. I am delighted to be here. Who's sir? Okay. Thanks. Again, I'm Constance Fraser. I'm delighted to be here and to be in the presence of work. Okay, thank you. Yes, I am now. Yeah, sorry about that, but I have a question because it's a burning question, and I'm Guyanese. I've been here since 1978 or 9, and I planned to go back home. And I changed my mind depending on the governments and the whatever's going on back home. Not have to have lots of family home, and I feel for them. But my question is, Mr. Bork, you just brought up what should I say? The Henry boys. Felt for them. And I know Mr. Fraud went to their house and promised the family they would provide and find out the culprits who massacred those boys, and justice will be served. And the next thing I heard, nothing was being done, and when people asked, break down where the evidence was or were, it was burned. So that was the end of that, and that hurt me. Because I was kids, and to have your family, young boys so brutally murdered, it broke my heart. And what happened? Nothing happened after them. That I have so many other questions, but I'll ask it later, or maybe I should ask now. It concerns the oil industry. No one can give an account of where the money is going. They have so many different accountants. I used to work in a bank for years in Guyana, Guyana National Corp Bank. And we used to have to sit there when the auditors come and make sub-balance. And there's a whole government with hundreds of accountants cannot tell you what is going where. Now, people are not beaten, especially the African Americans. They can't even afford to buy food. and you have so much money coming out of this oil business. What's the point? Is it a curse? We are, it really bothers me being here and having stuff and my people home can't eat. One slice of what do you call it, pumpkin is $1,000. I mean, it's hard. What's happening to all this money? All money is going out for oil, the gold, the diamonds. The Chinese are coming in and say they want walls built next to their, whatever's going on. I mean, it's crazy, and I'm sorry, but it hurts my heart. And I've decided I'm not going back home. I'm going home, sell my property that my parents left for me, and come back here rather die in another man's country. I don't want to go back. It's hard.
Well, I wouldn't sell the property. I empathize with you. I feel just like you. I feel the pain for the family of the Henry boys. We all have children. The passion that you have, I think you can use that in your advocacy to make sure that there's justice for those boys. Let me tell you something. I get angry when I think about what happened to Mark Benchcott. I get angry when I think about those 1,400 black men that were slaughtered by Barjagdeo's death squad, and there has never been an investigation. And I think that it was a disgrace that the president I supported, President David Granger, did not ensure for the 5 years that he was there when there was an investigation. It was an unpardonable sin. And I supported him. And I have credibility enough to criticize him because we worked for his election. But let me go on to deal specifically with the Henry boys. And it speaks to why people are intimidated. Look at what happened to the mother. When she was coming back from coming back from meeting with her lawyer, the police put up a roadblock and arrest her son.
Intimidation.
Intimidation. They charged the son with murder.
Yeah.
Frame the son, charge him with murder, just like they want to frame me. They ain't gonna get away with it that easy because, yeah. The killers of the Henry boys are in the midst of the PPP. They could curse me all they want, but it was PPP supporters that killed those boys. And the police know it. They arrested some probably person with some mental health something and said whatever. So everybody on the quarantine, on the West Coast know who killed those boys, except the police. No, if people decide to have vigilante justice, and I don't encourage that, then you will see the police kick into gear.
And we should remember that there was the forensics that came to Guyana.
Right.
And they blocked that too.
The government, Nigel Hughes brought in some of the best forensic pathologists in the world from Argentina. And the government refused to allow them access to the evidence. They don't want the people to find the people. Right? Intimidation. Let me tell you something. A gentleman, when we had a rally in New York, was on stage. And this song, If the City Would Burn Down, We Jam Still, the soca song. And somebody just substitute the word Georgetown for city. Georgetown would burn down, we jam still. Government said the man called for Georgetown to burn down. There are like 5,000 places in the world named Georgetown. But you know what? They wrote the US government said Rickford burns down, but no Georgetown.
They probably need to.
When Brickdown police station burned down, the minister of Home Affairs said, we in the diaspora burned down the Brickdown. When the prison break happened at Mazaruni, a PPP government official told me that they had a planning meeting to see how they could pin us in the diaspora to the prison break. Now, if they could try to do that to us in the diaspora, imagine what they're doing to those young black men and women in Guyana. We can't expect them to go onto the streets. Look what happened. They killed Quindon Bacchus. Police put out a statement. He was caught selling guns and engaged in an exchange of fire with the police. Line. The boy didn't even had a gun. Set up the boy because one police had a problem with a girl. They murdered that boy over a girl. And the police leadership put out a statement trying to cover it up. It was the pressure from the community that caused the president to refer the matter to Justice Ramlal, who investigated the matter and found the truth, and the perpetrator was charged with murder. Up to now, the matter can't come up yet. But the people who were protesting, you know what they did? What they did? They charged them with terrorism. The protesters for justice for Quindon Bacchus were charged with terrorism because they videotaped them, and everybody they could identify on the videotape, they charged. And you know what? The people marched to Munry Post, which is an Indian village. And those people from Munry Post, some of the people were engaged in destruction of property. I don't condone that. But some of the East Indians in Munry Post broke up their own stalls. We saw them on camera. And each one of them got $1 million. Even the Polari lady, she says she's got $3 million in Polari every day. But you know what? There's a video where the East Indians were on the road saying, bring the gasoline up, pull up the car. That's terrorism. They were not charged. They were not charged. This is what's good. So who's going to go and protest? Who's going to protect them? They're lying to magistrates. So a magistrate could be tricked into signing. I really want to see what she's going to do on this appointed date. I forgot to mention this. Let me throw this in here. I, Rickford Burke, would never recognize the jurisdiction of the Guyana Police Force or any court in Guyana for any alleged act that anybody does in America. Let the judicial, let's get Fannie Willis, prosecute y'all if y'all commit a crime. Then the U.S. attorney in what district is this? Southern District of Georgia? What district is this?
Yeah, I think they're in the south.
Southern District of Georgia? Prosecute you guys if you commit a crime against the federal government. But coming back to it, sorry, I had to say that. They're going to put that tomorrow as work disrespect the courts. So it's hard for us to call on people in Guyana unless there's a safety network. Look, the nurses strike. Nurses went on strike for better wages. What did they do? Take away all the nurses' benefits. They don't pay them. The court ordered them to give back the nurses last week their benefits. They appeal it. Nurses who keep the nation alive. This government is going to court, the appeals court to fight. You know why? They're all black nurses. They're all black nurses. Right? So that's what's going on in Ghana. And CARICOM sit there and they're not letting it happen. CARICOM headquarters in Ghana, they know what's going on. In regard, sorry, what's it?
I just want to say there's a lot of wealthy Guyanese here as well, and have the means to help. And I think identifying some really strong leaders in Guyana and empowering them is going to be important, but the protection as well. That means that paying for attorneys. And I do agree that the diaspora need to contact their elected official. This is a federal issue because it's outside of the state of Georgia, so it's a federal issue that you have to contact your Congress people. So you need to know who your congressional representative is. You got 2 senators. I don't know how much you guys want to do, but writing is one of the best way, because when it's written, if it's written done, it's been done. If you say it, it might not be done. So I think writing is a really good way. Email and find your email address. And if you can coordinate a writing campaign to these elected officials, I would start there to help protect, because we are also supporting this government in Guyana. Again, Guyana needs leadership, but I think it's important for us to go about it very systematically. We have to make sure that you get support as well. And again, the people that are in the Guyanese, the diaspora, you've got money, start thinking about how to best serve that. This is an organization as well. If you want to donate to this organization, have a plan as to how to execute it. Do not leave your property. Your home is always going to be in your heart. And you live here too, and this is your home as well. But where you were born will never leave you. And don't ever walk out, because at the end of the day, that is what they want. Because if they can take and consume the land, somebody said this to me, you can grow on land, but you can't grow land. And that is that has been the backbone of anybody who calls themselves conquerors. It's always been about land. Don't get confused. It's always been about land.
And I just want to add that this is an important year. This is an election year. So when we think about activating and really becoming involved, this is the year for us to get some traction in Georgia to make sure that our voices are heard.
And then in addition to that, Novella, in addition to what the representative says, what should be done is we have a letter, send it to the both United States senators, a letter and a petition. All you guys go through the Guyanese community, get the letter signed, and then you ask for a meeting. If you could, you want to do it under whatever group you're part of. All the groups should come together. All the groups should come together and write your Congress people, write your senators, attach it to a petition, and ask for a meeting. Ask for a meeting with them. It could be a collective meeting, and everybody just like this, and you talk to your representatives. I can help with that in terms of trying to coordinate a meeting with the members of Congress. Immediately in this area, you have Han Johnson, Lucy Macbeth, and Nikema Williams. And then you have Afsaf and Warnock, the two senators. After meeting, they're all Democrats. Georgia is controlled by two United States Democratic senators. Right? Get involved. Get involved in the community. Get to know your elected officials. Just like I know my elected officials, all of you guys should know Nikema Williams. She's the chairman of the Georgia Democratic Party. Right? So she can get all the elected officials who are Democrats coordinated. Right?
More than that, Richard, we're taxpayers here in the US, and the Foreign Assistance Act prohibits the US government to contribute our taxpayers' dollars to fund an undemocratic government. So a repressive government, a government that practices racism. So as taxpayers, we can lobby our congressmen and congresswomen that they stop USAID and any funding that goes to support programs that the government.
I'm not sure if you guys heard that. Everybody heard that? Right? For those of you online who didn't hear that, she was advocating that we ask for aid to Guyana to be stopped until democracy flows.
Yeah, but the only thing it's going to affect the population. It's a novel idea. It's a good idea, but it's going to affect the people who needs the aid going to Guyana.
You think when they stop aid to Zimbabwe, they care about that? Right? I mean, we have to then put mechanisms in place to help the population, right? And the United States knows how to do, right? They target funding that benefits the government and not affect the people. Right? For instance, now there should be no U.S. funds going to the Guyana Police Force anymore. None. That's something we could lobby. No funding from the U.S. government. The Guyana Police Force is deliberately, calculatedly, and strategically violating U.S. law, by U.S. violating U.S. sovereignty. So that's the main thing we can start with right there.
And but for just a quick question, I wonder how much of that money is actually country now? Because the question was, if we took the funding away, or if we lobbied or advocated to have the funding taken away, how much of an impact will it have? And certainly how much of a country is going to African Guyanese and those that are marginalized.
Exactly.
So the question is even beyond that. Next person.
I agree.
Can I just say one thing? Everybody in this audience, iwillvote.com. I wouldn't give it a long one, the MVP site. iwillvote.com. Go to that. It will ask you for your zip code, and it will take you to the Secretary of State office. If you're a registered voter, you put your first initial, your last name, the date of birth, and the county you're registered in. When you hit that, you will go and see your name and your address and all the stuff that about your voting record. You will also be able to find your specific congressional person. So you have a congressional district, you have a House district. The only thing with the state house is that state doesn't look after any federal issues. So that's why you need to contact your congressional rep. But that's where you would find your elected officials. You can, once you find them, you can also go to house.gov, and then it will ask you also for your zip code, and it will tell you who's your elected official for your district. And it's important because districts matter. The person who's representing you is going to be the best person to be your voice in Congress. And so it's important to write to the person that needs to write, you need to write to. So those are things that, again, you can do while you're here in the diaspora. And that is just activism, and that is advocating. And so I don't want anybody to be afraid of doing this, because I sit here because I was an advocate and I was an activist. And I sit here now, and I've been sitting, and I've been elected by people who thought it grant me enough grace to say, I want you to be my voice. And so you can be some of the people's voices that don't have that right now. Okay, next question.
Good evening, all.
Louder, please.
Good evening, all. I'm happy to be here. I'm from the North Carolina region, but most of all, I'm Guyanese. So I was born in Hillsborough, currently. It's a PPP-dominated area. I went to school in Stellar Park Secondary School. Today, I don't have a question. I have an observation. I've gone to Guyana frequently. But I'm very, very familiar with what's going on in Guyana. I'm very familiar with what's going on in Guyana. But today I want to speak on sports. Everyone today is celebrating the Guyana that West Indies has won the Test cricket, right? Against Australia. However, you can recognize in Guyana where places like Linden, Buxton, and most black populated area, they're taking away sports club, is decommissioning the parks and stuff like that. But they're spending money in Indian dominated areas. And I know because, like I said, I'm from before this current. My observation is that we in this room have to do more. We have to educate our people back home. We have to pull them together and let them know the strength and the power is in their arms, in their hands, and they need to go out, get together, and stand up. Because we can put government into power, but we also can take government out of power. That's my observation.
Let me add to what you said. One of the category of the population that we have to reach are young people. All those young people that they go and pay. They go and pay and bribe and bring in artists from around the Caribbean and throw a party and say the people love them and so on, right? We have to reach those young people and educate them and let them know what they're doing to them. They're conditioning their minds, conditioning our young people to accept mediocrity, accept ethnic supremacy, right? And our young people got to know that we don't have to take contracts to clean the trash. I see a sportsman, a national soccer player. I'm not criticizing him. He said I criticized him. I'm telling you, he's worth more than that. Just because they wanted him to put on a t-shirt to go and line up at nomination day for elections, they give him a little contract to clean the trash. Clean the trash? Whilst whatever Singh got in a $13 billion contract, while black people are not going to spend money? Right? Those are the contracts we want. And so young people must know their value and fight for those same $13 million contracts. If Mohammed and Singh could get it, Blackburn and Ford and Burke could get it too.
You know what, people, it's incredible. Money is very intoxicating for a lot of people, to the point that they will make somebody else smaller. If you have to make somebody else smaller than yourself, that means you don't have any sense of self. Because once you feel good about yourself, you actually want to lift other people up. This is a this and I'm not saying this as some kind of cliche. If you truly, really love yourself and see your other fellow human being as human beings, you won't degrade. But you have to degrade somebody in order to make them under your thumb. You have to. The reason why slavery was so successful was the brandishing of Black people as inhuman, not worthy criminals. It was part of packaging to make us smaller. That's why I do not use the word minority in this country. I don't, because people of color have never been the minority in the world. Immigration policies in the United States change the complexion and the makeup of this country. But we've got to remember, if you want to make somebody, even in your own life, if you want to make somebody else less worthy, if you say you can cuss them out, you can use words to make them less than. It doesn't make you bigger. It just makes you smaller. And what they're not understanding, what he's not understanding, is that it's for his power grab. He gonna die and can't take one darn thing with him. Let's remember our purpose here. The fact that we were born. There's a dash in between, and then we're gonna die. I lost my sister last year on May 12th. The most heart-wrenching thing for me still going through it. But it made me clear that I have to be intentional. And I don't have to make anybody as small to make myself big. I do it by being me and being kind, and also standing up when I see something is wrong. You're just as culpable if you see something wrong and you say nothing.
Thank you. Next. 1 second, please. It's a little bit in order. If you don't mind, this gentleman has been patient with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Burks, it's nice having you here. It's nice having you here. I'm happy that you could point out some of our hills in Guyana. I just have a couple of observations today. You spoke about those that was locked up, like Oliver Hinkson and the rest. There's a purpose for that. You also talk about Mr. Trump. Now, I love the guy and his policies that he's doing with Black people here in America, because I want him to put more pressure on them so they can go back to Guyana. So if he gets in, the lady in the cell show, she's going back. But the best thing to do to solve our problem home, because that's what we're trying to do, solve the problem, is to Douglas-rights the country.
I'm just going to say, I've never said that before somewhere, right?
I always say it. As long as you Douglas-rights the country, the problem will rise.
The representative would like to know, how do you Douglas-rights something?
Simple. Right now, it happens in Jamaica, but they don't have that problem. My fiance is from Jamaica. But you don't have that problem. We have it in Guyana. And it's a serious problem, and it's getting more serious because the Venezuelan girls are coming. And the Brazilian girls are coming. Here's the thing. We have over 10 women to 1 man. Let me finish. The Guyana population has not grown in over 50 years.
Sure.
60 years.
Migration.
No. Not that. It's not that.
Finish the question and then I'll answer.
Okay. I was in Jamaica. I asked the guy, how large is your population? He said 2.5 million and growing every night.
Every day.
2.5 and growing every night. My suggestion is.
Pick up the Jamaicans. All right, so I got the point. So let me say this, right? Even though it sounds jovial, the point you're basically making is that we must learn to socialize. The two races must, I'm putting it my way, socialization, meaning we must interact, we must come together. And if they're offsprings, yeah, we accept that too. But I am reading what you're saying as the need for us to come together as races, right? To coexist. We all habitate one space, right? One land. And what this PP government is doing is dividing the land. What they're doing is, to me, at some point in time, I think they're going to divide the country. Well, that's how it's going. I think they're going to divide Congo. I think they're going to divide the country. We must not allow them to do that. And so it is important for East Indians who recognize discrimination, racism, xenophobia to speak out and help to eradicate that. It is important for African Guyanese who recognize the same thing. To do that, we must all work together. That's why President Rachel was promoting social cohesion. What the PPP is promoting is ethnic supremacy. PPP, East Indian ethnic supremacy. You can't even say East Indian ethnic supremacy because when there are East Indians who oppose them, they treat them worse than us. And they're not treating them worse than us because they're opposing them. They're treating them worse than us because they're associating with blacks and helping to empower blacks. That's what's happening. It's not happening, right? So I take your point. I will say that you are advocating harmony, social cohesion. We accept that.
And my last point.
You still got a point?
One point.
Okay, one point.
One last thing. We are doing a harm to our country sitting here. We have caused the young people of Guyana to become barrel dependent.
Oh.
So they don't have to get off the nail that is in their butt. When you send down barrel after barrel and Western Union, hey, I don't have to do nothing other than sit and wait for people to come.
Sir, appreciate it. Okay, I have you one next. Come on, closer, Pastor. Okay, one more. Closer.
Question.
For question short and answer short so we can wrap up.
I'm for redress. How do the next government, say the APN, provide redress for the people that have been wrong for 27 years of PPP rule? And my form of redress might be different from other form of redress. I would stop all construction.
But you answered the question yourself.
Right, but if you do something like that. So the form of redress, which would mean equality, and if they have already gotten advantage for 27 years, how then do we, when we're in that position, make it equal for our people? That's my question. Redress.
So you're talking about accountability, right? You're calling it redress. I am for accountability. If wrongdoing was committed, there should be accountability. I've been very critical of the Granger government for that. Lack of accountability. Listen, when the government changes, Barjagir should not be allowed to live in Guyana, or if he lives in Guyana, he must live in a jail. That's my personal view. The PPP people who are brutalizing people must be held accountable. They must either run from Guyana, or they must be held accountable. They must be charged. They must be prosecuted and if found guilty, jailed. Notice I said judicial killing. Actually, I said that. I said
Yes.
you must be jail. Right, right. Due process. When the one for Calamus guy got tailed to the Caribbean Court of Justice to get it right, because you must treat them just like God treat you. Right? I believe in justice. I don't believe in vigilante justice like they're doing now, but they must be held accountable. So if the government changes, when the government changes, there must be investigations, proper investigations. There must be commissions of inquiry. There must be investigations of the police. President Granger removed the two top persons at CID. This government brought them back because there are the sentinels that are guarding the gate to injustice and criminality in the Guyana police force.
Well,
They might issue another bulletin for me.
yeah, to get
Right?
to get rid of the gun, sometimes
But-
you pick up the gun.
But I agree with you, there must be accountability. And whenever the government changes, I will be shouting from the mountaintop like Martin Luther King, that we need accountability. Those people who commit crimes, those people who were engaged in unlawful conduct should be held accountable. And the way you do it is through legitimate investigations and commissions of inquiry, and then let the prosecutors take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burr. Next.
I just want to make it very short. It's mostly for us in the Georgia area. There is One Voice Africa collab with Caribbean Georgia Vote, which Dr. Wakal is fully my colleague, I gotta say, is a part of, and we're working very hard to get her elected. Most of the elected officials in Georgia is because of the advocacy of Caribbean Georgia Vote, and now we merge together with One Voice Africa. It's more when you collab, I want to try to be an entity only by yourself, you're just a minute of voices. But if we can collab, bring in the different women's group and all come together, we sit in one room, we can have more of our, African, I didn't say African, more of our kind of people, kind of work very properly, carefully, and skillfully. That we can have more of our people at the seat of the table in larger numbers. And the reason why we have 3 extra elected officials because of the gerrymandering district, and they recognize that if the gerrymander didn't have any leaders who work in our favor, like my good friend Shiggins and many others. So I just want us to form that network, merge our groups together, yet we are individually, but let's collaborate time to form that entity that we can have more with democratic leaders in the state of Atlanta, Georgia. We want this thing to remain blue. So the next is for Honorable Adam McLeod, that's canvas for us. Thank you.
Right, I agree. And we must also apply that same principle to our activism with regard to Guyana. Don't keep it local, get the Caribbean, all Caribbean nationals involved, get our other elected officials involved, form a network, and put pressure on the federal government to change U.S. foreign policy towards Guyana.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you will, moderator. My observation locally here is this. The PPP has got the satellites, the agents in organizations here. And some of the things that they've been doing, I'm talking not at the national, at the state level, I'm talking about the Guyanese association, the Guyanese different groupings that they have here. And what they would do, go around perpetuating, don't align yourself with this group or that group. Because what they actually want to do is take away your membership, and they want to break up your membership, and that's all, which is not necessarily so true. So we guys, we have to be smarter than that. We have to do our due diligence. We have to look and see what the different organizations do, because one organization, because of its mandate, and because what it's legally can do or contracted to do, cannot step over certain boundaries. And that's why we will have different organizations coming up. But it doesn't say that you have to compete with each other. We could collaborate with each other. And yes, we could complement each other. But I just want you guys to be take note of that. That's what they're doing.
Thank you. Next question, we're pressing on, we'll take a couple more questions, and then we will wrap.
Okay, so we would like to know, what is the low confidence vote that they use in Guyana, and who has to initiate that in order to get something going over there by them?
I love that question.
Excellent question.
You're talking about the no confidence motion, like the people moved against the form of government. So, in Parliament, there's this provision called, sorry, in the Constitution, there's a provision for that. But it has to be initiated by a member of Parliament. It is filed to the Speaker, goes on the order paper, and the government, it says, the Constitution says, you say you have no confidence in the government. If the government loses that vote, the government topples. And it has to call elections within 90 days. And the government stays in power until that election is held and a president is sworn in. You guys know I was big involved, like a coach in that discussion about that aspect of the Constitution, because the PP, when they were in opposition, wanted the government to come out right away, went all the way to the Caribbean Court of Justice. I'll be frank with you. I'm not sure about the prospects of a no confidence motion succeeding. We have one, well, on our side, we have a 2-seat deficit because there's another opposition, but they are swallowed up by the government. If you notice, the Constitution says the deputy speaker must be from the opposition. And they are not giving the large opposition that position. They're giving it to the parliamentary opposition party that has 1 seat in parliament. Right? They're giving it to that person. So I wouldn't look for a no confidence motion to succeed. Now, I think at the next election, we must try to win the elections outright. But if we don't win outright, that's just a big if, we must at least have the majority in Parliament. I happen to think, and this is me being too smart, but I happen to think when you read the Constitution, a minority government in Guyana is unconstitutional. A minority government cannot function in Guyana based on the Constitution. That's why President Ramaphosa had to prorogue the Parliament and then he was forced to call elections, because he was trying to govern by fiat. Because in Parliament, most of the legislative acts have to be initiated by a minister. And in a minority government, you can't initiate it because the opposition, that is the majority, will vote you down. You understand? So what I think we have to do is register every single supporter. We have to go back to that. We have to register. And we have to make sure we have a new accurate voters list. Everybody knows the voters list cannot be valid because the Guyana population is about 790 people. The school population is about 220, meaning those are underage citizens. Good. 790, you take away 220, right? The voters list is 600,000. It can't work. It therefore means that the voters list is valid. And what this government did is they voted, as we all know, they voted for people who live abroad and who are dead. And the Elections Commission didn't have a mechanism to take out those votes. That's how they won, because they were able to go to the international community. When the Elections Commission attempted to remove those votes and say they rigged the elections. What should have happened is the PPP fought from the time I was a child for count of ballots at the place of poll. Remember, we used to get a central place of counting, and they said between the poll, the votes, the ballots being transported to the central pool, the government used to switch, our government, our party, well, the PNC, used to switch the ballot boxes. And they campaigned for a count of vote at the place of poll. The mistake President Rachel made, in my view, when they did the recount, they should have sent back each ballot box to the place of poll. Because the Constitution empowers the returning officer to determine what a valid vote is. We want to go to court and go to the Caribbean Court of Justice and all of that, where you have biased judges. And I understand why Jamaica is not part of the Caribbean Court of Justice. I think we should come out to the Caribbean Court of Justice because those judges are biased. No foreign, and they're going to attack me for saying this, but I don't care. No foreigner must determine the presidency of Guyana. That is for Guyanese. That is for Guyanese. And that's why the Constitution says, with regard to the determination of the eligibility for presidency, the Court of Appeal is the final court of justice. Sorry, final court of appeal, not the Caribbean Court of Justice. It is written into the Caribbean Court of Justice Act. But what the Caribbean Court of Justice did is overturn that provision and give themselves that power. It should never be. It should never be. I'm straying from the topic. But the point I'm making is that we didn't have our act together. Those people mobilized the international community, right? They got all the ambassadors and so on to back them, and Donald Trump kicked the government out of power, right? And they got the Caribbean Court of Justice to back them. Why? We didn't follow the Constitution. Ballots must be counted at the place of poll. And let me guarantee you this, if those returning officers had invalidated all of those ballots for their and overseas people, the people won't be in government today. That's just my view.
It's folks that live in the diaspora. You guys can't vote? Okay.
The mic. Okay, so we'll take 2 more questions and then we will wrap up. My fair lady.
A little louder.
Good evening, all. Can you hear me?
Good evening, yes.
My name is Marilyn Brown. I'm a proud artisan, and
Yeah, big up article.
I have a question for you, sir. The Grange government has set up, or at least started to set up a super fund that they were going to put, proceeds from all this oil money that's being made in Guyana. And I know they had started, they have a framework around which they were working. I'm not sure if that was completed before this government took over. But my question is this government doing anything at all? Is there even showing any respect towards that super fund that was set up? I know they're not very transparent about much, but are they doing anything at all? And even if they're not following that super fund that was set up by President Granger, have they done anything to set up anything similar? That's my question.
Yes, it's called the Sovereign Wealth Fund or Natural Resources Fund. It was established by Act of Parliament under President Granger, and the Parliament approved for that fund to be in the New York Federal Reserve Bank. I guarantee you they're going to change that just now. And the Parliament, that act set out specific procedures to be followed to withdraw that. The government has since used a majority, 1-seat majority, and amended that act. Since they're in power, they have withdrawn about $2.5 billion US from that fund. And if you notice, they have now tabled their bill in Parliament to further change the regulation of how that fund should be managed. I think that they're going to remove that fund from New York, because once it's in New York, it is under the jurisdiction of the New York Attorney General, who they attacked, and it's under the jurisdiction of the Justice Department. So if they commit any fraud, there is jurisdiction. Since we're talking about jurisdiction, that is jurisdiction. That's its proper jurisdiction, right? So, but they are withdrawing money from the fund. But what they're doing is transferring by procurement fraud that we just outlined there, giving contracts to their friends, relatives, and supporters. They're transferring all that money directly from the fund that is owned by the people of Guyana to their supporters. They are on a mission to transfer the wealth of Guyana to their East Indian family, friends, and supporters. I make no apology for saying that. That's what's going on. And it's happening through procurement fraud.
Thank you. Are they also allowing people from their original country of some of the East Indian nation, on the Asian continent?
Yes. Yes. He answered the question. Last question?
Very last question.
That's all this question. I comment. First of all, it's working at TV. Must commend the work you're doing. And what I like to say, Region 11. You also do some work in the lower 10, as I call it. Not direct, not deliberately, because you have to keep Mr. Jack here. In that you have given him a major distraction from all the dirt that they're doing. That's why every Thursday, clown show in the house. Nearly every day, everything is about Mr. Burke, Mr. Burke, Mr. Burke. I always admire that you make sure when you say statements, you say which statements, because a lot of times, apart from you, who's public enemy number one for them, you have the Indians that go against them, like the Mayor Ibrahim and not so long ago, we had a former officer, Harry Paul, from my Tony. He was jailed for nothing, as far as that concerned. And like you said earlier, a lot of people don't know, sometimes they are treated worse, you know, because you're supposed to support whatever they are doing. I see every time I think that the press stop, at least the regular press, should stop even going to those so-called press conferences at Freedom House, because it's a major distraction from all the teasing they're doing. I look at as a former military person, served my country, got shot up in the river trial. They're so blind. They're not stupid, but they're blind. Or at least try to play blind. When you're gonna have Indian contractors doing work at the army base in Mary, which is where most of the fighting forces are, and regular carpenters in Guyana. Even if you want to stay with your racists and keep Indians, right? But no Guyanese were employed. They employed the enemy at the time when we going. Nearly all the workers were Venezuelans. You know. Why would you have Venezuelans? We have no vetting process. We have no vetting process at all for these people. We don't know which one of them are military trained. I talk to people between the age of say 17 and 35, which will be military trained, and they work in there as contractors. They have all the plans and everything.
I'm told we only have a limited time here in this space. So let's ask you a question about the Venezuelans. That's a question for the opposition or the government. I'm not sure why the Venezuelans were. I'm the one that released that information. In terms of Venezuelans working at the military base at Timiri, I'm the one that released that information because if you get officers no, I'm saying I made it public. I made it public. And there's never been any observation. I noticed the project has been solved, right? But I accept your observation. The reason Barjani targets me is because I'm the most influential Guyanese here. I'm the one that interact with members of Congress. I'm the one that interact with the White House. I'm the one that talk with New York State officials. I'm the one that, look, for instance, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries spoke about racism. They said he was misled by work. They are so disrespectful. They once said about a white man, you know. Automatically, they assume that they know what I tell the congressman. Right? So it is not, and that's why I answer everything he says. Because some people, they're throwing everything at the wall to see what's sticking. 10% of you might believe it. Right? So you have to respond. Right? That's why I told him that he called it Kati's a member of parliament, a distinguished black woman, a low life, and he grew up eating Cockabelly Street fish from the trench, Carnal. You calling me black sister a low life? You know what I'm saying? So we have to respond. there's no respect for Black professional women in that party. None. So, but thank you for the question. I'm told that that's the last question, so.
Okay. So thank you for being in community this evening, my fellow Guyanese. Thank you for your questions, your concerns, your commitment to helping to make Guyana better. And so what I would like to encourage us all to do is really to become involved and engaged. This organization that we have partnered with Rickford today, the Concerned Guyanese Patriots of Georgia, we are absolutely open to new membership. There are a number of initiatives that we will be certainly working on for 2024 in terms of our strategy, and that certainly will be wonderful if we can get your participation, your talent, your time, as well as your treasures. So thank you so much. We do have some paid, I would say, food items that we have prepared to raise funds. And if you can support us, it is certainly a nominal fee in making sure that we clear some of the expenses to pull this event off. We would be very grateful for your engagement and contribution. We also have at the very back of the room, we have a donation box. And so that means that if you would like to provide a wonderful contribution to this organization and the work that we're doing, we welcome that as well. And so thank you. You will be hearing from us. Please stay engaged. Please get engaged. And certainly please be engaged. I would like to call on my fellow brother here to be able to provide us with a vote of thanks.
Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the table, special guests, first of all, Donna, we thank you. Rickford, we continue to welcome you in the state of Georgia. The viewing audience, my fellow brothers in Guyana, and my sisters, after this young lady expressed the way in which her heart desire was to go back home after she retired. And it was very emotional. It was a moving and a touching situation just now. Let me look into the camera. And Jadio, as my friend just said to me, texted me, said, hey, Keyode, don't go on the mic. My name is Keyode Lambert. I'll tell you this. Don't lead your attention anymore on Rickford. Lead your attention on me. Me. Just look. I have all the information and the evidence. You just lead your information. We have something called our First Amendment rights. That's the freedom of speech, right? And we can express ourselves anyway. We pay our taxes and we pay with due diligence. Look into the camera. I know Thursday, you've already removed your lies away from Rickford and you go on with Norton and you go on with the other. I'm young. You see, I could have worn a shirt today, but I'm young, black, and I'm proud. I'm not afraid of you. We all have to die, Jabdeo. We all have to die. We all have to go to the great beyond. But you're the only one who will live beyond and on and on. You and your cabinet. Look, I will address 2 issues before I give the vote of thanks. My father said he would never take off his hat to no man. I take it off my hat to you. Nor your PPP. I'm young, gifted, and I'm qualified. I am qualified. Me and your sister, we work together. So I will leave that information there. And she said a whole lot about. I know you'll start digging up who's this young man, who's this, and who's this. But yes, I have the information. This is not information where you got some video. You said you had video recording from Rickford from since 1902, and you can't release the video recording, right?
If these atrocities were happening in Jamaica, it could not have happened in Jamaica. Am I? Never. Something's wrong with Guyanese people. Listen, just for a few dollars, hey man, just for a few dollars, what is wrong with us? Get up and stand up for your rights. You get one man, Javier, just upturning this our entire beautiful nation of Guyana. Look at what you think when your finale went to Ghana and went to St. Lucia to do some the accord for Venezuela. It's the churches who are was praying and who's continue to pray for the safety of our Guyanese people. So first of all, I must thank the churches, all the churches in Guyana. Right? I know some of you are on and off, but I must thank the churches. You guys are doing a great job with your fasting and your prayer and your continuous meeting. Jackie, Georgia is not like New York. So you can't send nobody to nobody's house. You cannot send nobody to nobody's house. This is Georgia. Georgia is like Guyana. This is not New York where you're going to for. You gotta get name. You, Jackie, just try it Thursday. Try it. Imagine you have a guy who's on what's his name, Rickford? Sarabo. Sarabo, then you have this other social commentator, what's his name? Anyway, critics. Imagine he failed in nursery school, can't graduate primary school, and he got big contract. Man, Guyanese, you guys wake up, okay? Vote the thanks. So my friend who's in New York who tell me, hey, KOD, don't go on this thing. I said, bro, let me tell you, I have brothers, I have sisters back home, and I must express my First Amendment right, the freedom of speech. Anyway, before I close this town hall, and this town hall was all because of marginalization, discrimination, and this is now Rickford. I don't know Rickford. Rickford, I don't even know you. And I just know him from seeing him. So, Jack, you don't pay me to Rickford. We have a lot more who want to come out, who's passionate. Remember when Pharaoh was holding on to Moses? You remember Moses say, Pharaoh, let my people go. Jack, let my people go. The wrath of God is up. With fall upon you. Let my people go. Yeah. Donald McLeod, a special thanks to you. Members of the audience, we thank you for gracing your presence and getting out here. Despite the challenge of the cold weather. The viewing audience, we thank you for your Sunday afternoon. We know you could have gone anywhere else, but you stayed and you sat right through these few hours with us. Miss Austin Thompson, who could not have been here, Lisa McLeod, who could not have been here. We say, Lisa Cupid, thank you. Thank you very much. And this wouldn't be the first, nor it would be the last for us with this here. Wendy Williams, we thank you for your place. Lawrence Prescott, the CLTV, and that was a great interview. My parents, my father, you have set this stone many years. You have seen it many years. You know, my father said when I was 5 years, it's either we stand for something or we fall for nothing. And I remember that quote. I remember that quote. It's either we fall for something, we stand for something, or we fall. And I challenge you, each individual, despite your nationality in Guyana, Jagdeo, you're the problem. Our country can unite and come together. Remove marginalization, discrimination, free the money up to the poorer class. You can't send nobody. I've been home in a few months and I saw where the work is being
done. The work is being done in certain communities. In certain communities, if you didn't go, you would not have known. So, on behalf of the association here, we the Concerned Guyanese Group and the Patriots, I must say thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Koyobi. Before we go comments, thank you all for being here again. I just want to close off in a word of prayer and to let the PPP government know in Guyana, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we here will not bow down to your intimidation and to what you're doing to our people, the atrocities. We will not be collaborators with your scheme. We would stand up for our brothers and sisters, just like Esther did in the Bible, just like Joshua did. We will stand up for our people. And you and your ignoble regime will have to fall because change must come from the people. And the people demanded. The cries are too much. The pressure from my people in my country is too much. And you have to change or get out. Father God, we just thank you today for your grace and mercy. We thank you for everyone that was being here, Lord. We thank you for the speakers. We thank you for those that come far and wide. We thank you for the brothers that have to drive up to North Carolina. We thank you for those who even came from New York. We thank you for those who came from West, Lord. We pray, God, that as they go back, they will go back revived. Oh, God, we pray that there was some amount of that they will understand, Lord. You said, seek and you shall find. God, they came here to seek information today, and they got some information. Father, we pray, Lord, that you would empower them, and as they go back, they will be a catalyst in their own communities for justice, for human rights justice against atrocities, whether it's in Guyana, whether it's in the Caribbean, or anywhere around the world. We pray for safe passage and safe journeys for them. In Jesus' name, amen. Guys, yeah, we just going to hit some music around. Don't forget. Yes, you can just leave some donations to us because we got as we said, we are an organization. We just start and we need funds to do whatever we have to do. Trust me, none of those goes into any of our pockets. And we thank the ladies at the back, all the ladies that helped to prepare things for us. Worked so hard through the night, etc.
Yeah.
We need to do some music rather than now.
Yeah. Yeah, they think. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, nice meeting you. No, thank you. Where are you from? Where are you? Okay, my brother used to live here for me.
Okay, just to do justice to my sister Wendy. This place here was decorated by Wendy. Wendy supports us. And we would like you guys to support her in your future endeavors, in your birthdays, your anniversaries, your weddings, your parties, whatever events you have. She's Guyanese. We want to support her. And she looks like us. She's part of us, right? And she goes out for her people. So, Wendy, I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, yeah.
The CGPT, Concerned Guyanese Patriots of Georgia, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and we want to thank Mr. Lawrence next door for what he did to us 2 days ago in terms of the interview that we had on Friday. That was wonderful enough. I mean, thank you again, all of you beautiful people for coming out. We're going to get some music.
Some process. I live in a Logan, but I have to school. Yeah. I know that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the man disrespected Captain. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Mama, you make me cry. I'm telling you, man. Yeah, how you going? This isn't. I'm in IT, right? Jack, you didn't want to kill me 2 elections ago. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You could have come up and say, hey, stop talking to the boy, to the man.
Mm-hmm.
I've been proud. I tell you, all he wants to get in.
It's the homosexual, yeah.
That's the biggest thing with them now. That's the biggest.
They're doing a lot of work.
Yeah. Watch your people dying so much.
It's still the for the man there on the east bank. Remember the
Yeah.
government reserve there before border began by credit?
Mhm.
It's the for them
Yeah.
I spent a couple of months and I think about music them for the car. And then I was saying, I was mother asked me, why is that from Shepherd stuff? Why is that from the restaurant? And taking it back and said, uncle, when did they move with the Hindu man there from Duki Madeir? Nobody said no thing. So the next skirt, I have a whiskey got a cycle. Must left. If I saw the camera. Come on now, why is that a couple? I don't dress it up. Why is that a couple? I go to Father is the people to be there with prayers. So we hold just on the congregation.
Yeah, 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 And I have a friend who had a supermarket. As soon as they leave the highway, he used to do Western Union and right forget his name. He's still around.
When you come to the place and I'm so
You like
shock everybody.
long?
No, Western, you just about
Yeah, Western. I set up this entire business. You like it. Because he's a big man and married a young girl.
If he's gone anyway, so that's how somebody very like love the video. Since a lot of
Long piece of I start IT. A young black girl. Like I go set up everything for long.
Everybody stuck along because Carla, she runs to APNU for the village. Then I kind of disappointed. How did I go after him? Kind of disappointed.
Long? Yes, I can't believe. No, long. If I set up everything for long.
Construction on that one side.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, man, thank you.